The year was 4412 by Galactic Standard Calendar. The Vorrkai Empire had ruled 47 star systems for over 2,000 years. 2,000 years. Not a single rebellion had lasted more than a season. Not a single species had dared to fire a weapon in their direction without immediately regretting every life decision that had led to that moment. The Vorrkai were, by every measurable standard, the undisputed kings of this corner of the universe. So, when Supreme Fleet Admiral Grukko Var, a being with 6 eyes and an ego roughly the size of a small moon, received an emergency transmission from Sector Warden Pitta, he was not prepared. He was sitting in his command chair, sipping warm Zelkfurt broth, reviewing a routine patrol log. Nothing interesting ever happened anymore. He had not felt genuine surprise in 40 years. He would feel it now. "Admiral," Pitta's voice crackled through the channel, high-pitched and absolutely unhinged, "there is something in the Norreth Passage. Something large. Something we do not have a classification for it." Grukko set down his broth very slowly. "Pitta. You have access to the complete galactic registry. Every vessel from every known species is documented. Every design. Every engine signature. Every weapon's configuration." "What do you mean, no classification?" "I mean," Pitta said, and there was a very long pause that lasted approximately 1 full second too long, "it is not in the registry." Silence. "Then add it," Grukko said flatly. "Sir. With respect. I think you should see this first." The visual feed came through. Grukko stared at it. All 6 of his eyes blinked. Not simultaneously, which was his tell. His adjutant, a sharp young officer named Vekko, noticed the uneven blinking and instinctively gripped the edge of his console. The ship on the feed was enormous. Longer than anything the Vorrkai had in their own fleet. Its hull was dark, almost swallowing the light around it. Rows of what appeared to be weapons ports lined its sides like teeth on some terrible prehistoric creature. Energy readings were off the charts. Not dangerously off the charts. No. The readings were so far beyond the charts that the charts themselves seemed offended. "What?" Grukko said. "Just that." "What?" "We sent a standard greeting signal," Pitta continued, his voice now having achieved a new frequency that Grukko would later describe as somewhere between panic and prayer. "In all 49 recognized galactic languages. We got a response. And? They responded in a language we did not recognize. Our translation matrix identified it as. Pitta. Finish the sentence. Human, sir. The language is human." The broth hit the floor. Now, for those who are not familiar with humanity, which at this point in history included most of the known galaxy, a small history lesson. Humans had made first contact with the galactic community roughly 80 years prior. They had arrived not in a grand fleet, not with diplomatic envoys dressed in ceremonial robes, not with ancient wisdom and stellar charts. They had arrived in a single medium-sized research vessel, a crew of 12, and an absolutely baffling level of confidence for beings who had only recently stopped arguing about whether their own planet was round. The galactic community had laughed. Quietly. Politely. The way you laugh at a very small animal that has wandered into an arena full of much larger animals and does not seem to understand the situation. The Vorrkai had not even sent a representative to the First Contact Summit. They had sent an automated acknowledgement. The galactic equivalent of a thumbs-up emoji. That had been 80 years ago. Nobody had heard much from the humans since. There were small trade agreements. A few diplomatic exchanges. Reports of human vessels operating in distant sectors. Nothing alarming. Nothing that required the Vorrkai Empire to update any threat assessment files. The humans were simply there. Like background noise. Like furniture. So the question that was now drilling itself through Grukko's six-eyed skull, as he stared at a vessel that could quite conceivably crack a moon in half, was very simple. When, exactly, did the furniture get teeth? Sir, Vekko said carefully, reading the incoming data with the expression of someone defusing something very delicate, their engine output alone it is 3 times our most advanced warship. And we are reading 42 individual weapon systems. Active weapon systems, sir. They are not powering down. Grukko stood up from his chair. He straightened his uniform. He breathed through all 4 of his respiratory chambers. Get me the Emperor, he said. Now, sir. Emperor Voss Kalaan the Third had not been disturbed during his morning contemplation in 31 years. Not when the Vorrkai border colonies had revolted. Not when the Sulfury Trade Federation had collapsed. Not even when his own nephew had accidentally fired a ceremonial weapon inside the palace and taken out an entire decorative wall. Those things, his attendants had decided, could wait until after contemplation. Today, they did not wait. Your Imperial Radiance, his chief aide, a nervous creature named Bolto, said from the doorway, both hands clasped together so tightly they had gone pale, Fleet Admiral Grukko Var is requesting an immediate audience. He says it cannot wait. Emperor Voss Kalaan the Third opened one slow, golden eye. Then the other. He was ancient by Vorrkai standards, his skin darkened almost to black with age, his 8 eyes carrying the particular heavy-lidded expression of a being who had seen every possible crisis and survived all of them through sheer stubbornness. Grukko, he said, testing the name. Grukko has never called anything immediate in 40 years of service. Yes, your Radiance. Then put him through. What happened in the next 4 minutes was later classified at the highest level of Imperial secrecy. But Bolto, who had accidentally stayed in the room 2 minutes longer than he should have, would later describe the Emperor's face during those 4 minutes as, quote, a map of a man watching his entire worldview quietly fold in half. Meanwhile, back in the Norreth Passage, things were developing. The human ship had not moved. It had not powered down its weapons. It had not sent any further transmissions after the initial response. It simply sat there, in the middle of the passage, the way a very large animal sits in the middle of a road, not threatening, not retreating, simply existing, and leaving the decision entirely to whoever was approaching. Pitta had now sent 7 follow-up transmissions. All in different languages. All politely worded. All completely ignored. Maybe their communication array is damaged, suggested his junior officer, a young Vorrkai named Rek, with the hopeful energy of someone trying very hard to believe something that was clearly not true. Pitta looked at Rek. He looked at the energy reading still scrolling beside the human ship's image on his screen. 42 active weapon systems did not suggest a vessel with communication problems. 42 active weapons systems suggested a vessel that had received all 7 transmissions, read them carefully, and decided it was simply not in the mood to reply yet. Rek, Pitta said quietly, go make yourself some Zelkfurt broth. You look like you need it. Rek went. Pitta stayed. And at exactly the moment he was considering whether a career change to agricultural management had ever been a realistic option, the human ship finally responded. Not with a transmission. With a single fighter craft. Small. Impossibly fast. It launched from the battleship's lower bay and crossed the distance to Pitta's outpost station in a time that made Pitta's navigation system briefly question its own accuracy. It did not fire. It did not make aggressive maneuvers. It simply pulled up alongside the outpost observation window, close enough for Pitta to see it clearly, and matched their speed perfectly. And through the fighter's cockpit, Pitta could see the pilot. A human. He had read the biological files on humans. He had seen the grainy images from the first contact summit 80 years ago. He was intellectually prepared for what a human looked like. 2 eyes. 1 nose. A mouth. Bilateral symmetry that was almost aggressively simple by galactic standards. He was not prepared for the pilot to look directly at him through the glass, smile the particular smile of someone who knows exactly what kind of situation they are in, and give a single, slow, casual wave. Like they were neighbors. Like this was nothing. Pitta made a sound that had no official translation in any known language but conveyed the general meaning of, "I did not get paid enough for this posting." On the Imperial War Council channel, which now had 14 admirals, 3 planetary governors, and 1 emperor all talking over each other simultaneously, Grukko listened to the chaos with the quiet dignity of a being who had already gone through his panic cycle and come out the other side into something resembling grim acceptance. "We should hail them again," said Admiral Pren, the youngest of the War Council. "Formally. With full Imperial honors." "We hailed them 9 times, Grukko said. "Then we should position our fleet at the passage entrance. Show them our numbers." Grukko looked at the weapons data still glowing on his screen. "Our numbers," he repeated slowly, "are not going to impress a ship that is currently reading 3 times our own flagship's output." Silence on the channel. The kind of silence that settles over a room when everyone present has individually arrived at the same uncomfortable conclusion and nobody wants to be the first to say it out loud. It was Emperor Voss Kalaan himself who finally said it. "Someone," the Emperor said, each word measured and deliberate in the way that only very old rulers who are very used to being right speak when they are suddenly very unsure, "find out what the humans have been doing for the last 80 years. Another silence. Then Grukko's research officer, a meticulous alien named Torva, pulled the intelligence files. All of them. Trade logs. Sector reports. Human vessel sightings over 8 decades. She compiled them in 11 minutes flat and put the summary on screen. The humans, it turned out, had not been making furniture. The humans had been building. Quietly. Consistently. With a focused, almost unremarkable determination that had looked, from a distance, like nothing in particular, right up until the moment it looked like the largest warship in the Norreth Passage, sitting completely still, 42 weapon systems active, pilot waving cheerfully from a fighter cockpit at a sector warden who was now seriously reconsidering every professional choice he had ever made. "Your Imperial Radiance," Grukko said, very carefully, "I believe we may have made a small error in our initial assessment of the human species." The Emperor breathed through all 4 chambers. "Grukko. Sir. Prepare a formal diplomatic welcome. Full honors." And someone, his ancient golden eyes moved across the entire War Council screen, landing on each face in turn, "Get me a translator who actually speaks human." Somewhere in the Norreth Passage, the human pilot finished their wave, rolled the fighter in a single clean arc that was entirely unnecessary but looked absolutely spectacular, and headed back toward the battleship. The Vorrkai Empire, 2,000 years old, ruler of 47 star systems, undisputed king of its corner of the universe, watched it go. And for the very first time in recorded Imperial history, not a single admiral had anything confident to say. Friends, if you are enjoying our videos and want to watch new and exciting sci-fi and HFY stories every day, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to turn on the bell icon so you never miss any of our latest uploads. Like the video and share it with your friends as well, so our community can continue to grow and bring you even more amazing content.